What is going on, YouTube? It is your boy Big Play Slay here, coming back with another video. And in today's video, we'll be going over a interesting topic. Gardner Minshew to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, it has been reported by multiple sources that the Colts, they're honestly interested in him. Last year, Gardner Minshew, he was the backup for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had a solid season on paper. Not the best throwing, of course. He's definitely going to improve on that in the future, as I expect him to. You look at Gardner Minshew, he played one game starting this year, or two games actually starting. The first game was against the New York Jets, which I think he had over 300 yards, I want to say. But he had 2 touchdowns to Dallas Goedert. Goddard was going off that game. So that definitely helped him out a lot. And Quez Watkins, he involved him a lot in that game. And he also played one more game. In that last game of the season against Dallas before we went into the playoffs and got hammered on by the Bucks. So that first game, as I mentioned out, he had an ankle injury. Jalen Hurts had an ankle injury. And that's kind of why Gardner Minshew started that game. So I could see the Colts being desperate. You know, they just traded Carson Wentz. Speaking of Carson Wentz, now that we play him in the division, the Colts traded him to the Commanders, and I mean it helps them a lot because they need a quarterback, but they got overly desperate. So that's kind of why I could see the Colts being desperate. We kind of fleeced them last year when we sent Carson to Indy. We got a first and a third, I want to say. We absolutely fleeced him. Carson Wentz, I mean, he had a solid season this year, but we honestly fleeced him, and that's why I could see us fleecing the Colts again. Because, you just got a first and a third not too long ago, literally a year ago. So imagine if they get desperate again for another quarterback that's on our roster, and honestly is solid. He could be a big factor into why they could win games. Minshew, he doesn't have to do too much. All he has to do is be a rental for maybe a year, because if you look at the Colts situation right now, they don't have too many quarterbacks, and I'm going to talk about their quarterback situation on later in the video. But if you really think about it, let's say there's a situation where they trade for Gardner Minshew. They could use him as a rental. I mean, look at what they had with Carson Wentz this year. Obviously, it failed out because they didn't get into the playoffs. But let's say there's a situation where, they get a guy like Gardner Minshew. He can be a rental, and you could still get a quarterback next year in the draft, because there's a lot coming out next year. You got C.J. Stroud, and you got Bryce Young. And that's not two bad quarterbacks. They honestly are really good. Obviously, we got to see how this year pans out for both of those guys. But I think they're going to have solid seasons, of course, because Bryce Young, he plays at one of the best schools in the country, in the nation. Arguably the best. And then you got C.J. Stroud, who plays at Ohio State with a lot of talent. Arguably the best receiver in next year's class, with Nance and Najabwe. So let's say they trade for him. Gardner Minshew could just be a rental. You go through that situation for a year, and Chris Ballard, I think he could finesse a lot of teams next year, and he could get his guy by trading up. So anything can happen. Now let's talk about their quarterback situation right now. Let me pull this up. They have Sam Ehlinger, and that's not gonna work. You gotta look at a rental for a year. because it just doesn't make sense to keep whatever they have at quarterback. Ellinger is not that good. He's had flashes here and there, but let's just be real. He's not a franchise quarterback. They tried to work that out with Jacob Eason, and that failed. Because Eason really isn't that good of a quarterback. If you look at all the elements of being a quarterback, an overall quarterback, he doesn't fill out all the traits. And they sent him to Seattle, I want to say. So you look at Ellinger, and you expect him to not be the quarterback of the future. They could use a rental on him this year too. But if we trade Minshew to the Colts, I expect either a fourth or a third, because he's not really that good. Minshew, I'm gonna just be real. I don't think he can be a great quarterback, of course, but he's not terrible. So you can get a rental for like a year. You have already a really good offensive line, top 5 arguably. You have one of the best coaches in the NFL when he's on his A game. You have one of the best defenses in the NFL with some solid receivers. That's a situation I think Gardner Minshew can work with. And honestly, I could see them being desperate and trading for Minshew. And we could get a couple picks out of it. And it could be a win-win trade. But let me know your guys' thoughts. Do you think the Eagles should trade Gardner Minshew to the Indianapolis Colts? Do you guys see a situation where they get desperate? And what do you think we get for him? I'm going to end this video off right here. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Y'all have a safe and blessed day. We are on the road to 1.1K, so let's get there. Y'all have a nice and safe day. Peace.